Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the Dinero Twins podcast. Today we are here with episode 9, which we're going to be breaking down the do's and don'ts of professional networking. Okay, so you don't want to miss it. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe and go back to our previous episodes where we're dropping off a lot of gems. Hey, twin.
Hi, twin. What's going on, girl?
What's going on?
Episode 9, the last episode of 2021. So this is great for us to have this conversation because it's something that we talk about often in business settings, especially us females, because we're trying to, feel more comfortable when we attend these male dominated events and just wanted to come together and talk to you guys, share a few of the things that you definitely want to do and don't do while you attend a business professional setting or networking event. So this is going to be a good conversation, twin.
Yes, it is. And I know we have our own stories and actually how we got to meet during an event, right? And look at what came out of that. So it's going to be a great opportunity for people to kind of go into networking events in a different light, so different perspective. And actually the fact that we can provide value in this area is just tremendous.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get right to it. So the first thing on the list is dress codes, dress coding for attending an event. So obviously there's a multitude of different types of events, right? You want to make sure you understand what the setting is. So there's events that are being done, at bars, at restaurants, in conference spaces, in more private settings, boardrooms kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you understand what that location is and what that setting is before you decide on what your dress code is. But you also want to be able to ask the organizer, if you can, hey, is this more of a business casual situation? Is this more of a laid back casual setting? Just ask the question, especially if you're going to go there with a purpose to meet someone specifically or to pitch your idea or to just gather contacts, make sure that you understand what type of crowd and dress code this is, because I have stories, girl. I have stories about this. I normally do that. I normally always attend events, professionally dressed. I try anyway, keep it fun, but serious. But I invited a friend of mine one time to an event because I didn't want to go by myself. And I was like, hey, girl, just come with me. It's going to be one of those networking events where we can meet some people and get some contacts. And a friend of mine, of course, never used to being at these events, showed up like she was going to the club.
No way.
So there I am with my suit jacket and my, nice heels, a little bit of a, casual business attire. And there's my friend with, stilettos and body parts hanging out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the business setting. I should have mentioned that this should have been like a dress code. So you can't always assume that.
Because apparently, professional attire, I guess everybody interprets it a different way. So maybe, you shouldn't, but I guess some people do, right? And it has a lot to do with your exposure, right? So if you're not used to going out to these events and all you have in your closet is a cocktail hour dress, then you probably want to make sure you get prepared ahead of time before you attend the event.
Absolutely. So yes, very, very important. Do you have any stories about dress coding?
Dress code? No, not necessarily. Because one of the things that I, make sure that I do, and by the way, a side note, when you are looking for networking events, I also want to mention some sites that have been very useful to me in the past when looking to attend networking events. One of those sites will be Eventbrite. Meetup is also really good for networking events. LinkedIn, Facebook events, right? So these are just all different sites that you can go to find networking events. I know that as of lately, a lot of people have been shying away from in-person events, but I feel like that's more of a temporary thing. Of course, COVID regulations and things like that. But I don't think it's going to be the end of us meeting in person. I still feel like, nothing beats personal interaction, physical interaction. I feel like we can do Zoom events as much as we want, but I still feel like networking events, in-person events are going to be around for a really long time. So with that being said, I do want to mention that when you are looking for a specific event, make sure that you're reading the entire description, okay? Because usually in the description, the host will let you know what the attire is, you know, if it's business casual, if it's more formal, you know, so therefore you're prepared. And if you don't, and if you have some doubts, then Google it, right? What is professional attire? What is, you know, business casual? So therefore you are going in and you're not, you know, standing out. You're kind of like blending in with the environment, okay? So with dress code, I don't have any personal stories, just that I would like to add, but I still feel like it's something extremely important that people should be aware of, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it's the first impression, right? So like
it is. It definitely is. It is the first impression because people, you know, I always say the first thing I do when I look at someone is that I look at how they're dressed, right? I feel like do we want to judge people based on how they look? No, right? But it's the first thing that we see, right? And that's why sometimes people make their first I guess impression of you based on how you look. So that's why they say first impression is you can't you don't have a second chance to make a first impression, right? You only make it once. So make sure that you look sharp, you know, you in the environment, you're confident and you own it.
that's right. Own it. Own it.
Right? So, which is going to lead us to our second one, which is making sure you have your pitch. Okay. Now, what exactly is a pitch? A pitch is just basically you letting people know what is it that you do. Okay. And not in a form of a speech. I'm not talking that I'm not saying that you're going to, you know, bore someone to death just talking all about you, because I mean, what fun is that? Is there in that? Okay. So what you want to do is you want to condense it in the most simplified way. Okay, now these are some tips that I've learned in attending networking events that will help you stand out from the rest. Okay, when someone asks you, what is it that you do? Because when you're networking, everyone asks, what is it that you do? Don't just say, oh, I'm a financial professional, or I'm a real estate agent, or, you know, or I'm a musician, whatever. You know, I want you to break it down in a way that is you're actually letting them know the end goal. Okay, so this is what I mean by that. For example, I'm in the financial industry, so but I specifically focus in teaching people how to use cash value to build wealth, right? So I can go into an event and say, hey, my name is Lisa de Campuzano. I focus on teaching people how to use cash value life insurance, or what I do is that I teach people how to use cash value life insurance to build wealth. And then what their response is going to say, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right? Because instead of me saying, oh, I'm a financial professional, like, okay, so how many other financial professionals are there, right? I just told you what I do. So I just took them to the end goal, and now they're interested and like, oh, how is it that you do that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's your pitch.
Yes. Yes. And be confident too when you say it, right? Like,
Yeah.
be confident in explaining in a short sentence what it is you do, so that, you know, you're not like mumbling words and like saying other things that you're not, you know, that are not aligned with your profession. So, but this is something that takes practice, you know, don't just do it on the fly, right? You got to like sit down and think of it as,
Practice it. Absolutely.
yeah, this is my line. This is what I'm going to say when I attend these events. But for sure, your pitch is everything. I mean, you're there for a reason, right? You're there to meet people, have people be interested in you and your product, your service. So you got to have a pitch no matter what, you know, especially in a business environment. That's why you're there. You're spending your time to be there. So make it worthwhile, right?
Yeah, and it definitely, I always say that it helps you stand out. Of course, you don't want to spend so much time with one person, because then of course you want to work the room. Okay, one of my mistakes that I've done is that, let's say I'm talking to someone and, you know, we're getting to know each other, the conversation is flowing, but then you notice that, okay, I only have like 30 minutes left, and I still have so many of the people that I didn't get the opportunity to talk to that I want to meet, right? So make it short, make it sweet, make it simple, exchange contact, you know, let them know that, hey, I want to continue this conversation, you know, elsewhere or whatever, let's connect sometime, but I still want to make sure that I get to everyone else in this room.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's happened to me too, because, you know, it takes me a lot to like go to an event and work the room, because it's not my personality to do that. Like, I'm kind of behind the scenes kind of person. So I got to force myself to be like, oh, there's so and so. Let me go over there and say hi. And even that is like really nerve-wracking, and it's not an easy thing to do, but you got to always
What
keep
do
in
I say?
yeah, and then you're like, especially if they're talking to someone else, it's like, when do you actually butt in?
Yes. One of the things that helps me, Twin, and I feel like this may help you, depending on the person, let's say it's a female, I start off with a compliment. Like, hey girl, oh my God, I love those shoes, And of course, I want to be genuine about it. So I look at something that I really like about that person, and then I compliment it on them. One, what that does is that it makes someone happy. Like, oh, I just got a compliment. I'm feeling myself.
Right.
You're gonna come into the conversation like, oh, she's so nice. Let me get to know her. So that's the first thing I do when I want to talk to somebody and I don't know how to approach them. I give them a compliment, like, oh, that's a really nice tie. Okay, those are really nice shoes, girl. Where'd you get that bag?
I like that. That's a very good tip. Yes, absolutely. Because then it kind of softens it up, the conversation, and it's more inviting to then start talking, right? Good. I like that one. That's a really good tip. Political stances and religious conversations. Don't have them.
Big no. Big no. It's so funny because when I think about this, where they say that like in a first date, there's 3 things that you shouldn't talk about, and that's political. Don't get political, don't talk about religion, and don't talk about your ex, right?
Yes.
I feel like I feel like in a networking event, the same rules apply. Okay, don't go in there with baggage. Don't, everybody has their own political views. They may have their own religion stances as well, but don't go in there and vomit on people. It's not the right environment. First of all, you don't want to get confrontational with anybody. And in reality, I don't think it's the right setting. You're there to get to know people. It's short. It's not there for you to lecture anybody, right? So it's just a no.
Don't do it, especially during these, like last year and the year before, when everybody was so tense about politics and COVID and well, I shouldn't say the word, but the 19 and everything else is like, don't have those conversations. Don't even bring them up. And if you walk into a conversation like that, just try and change the subject or just walk away until it's over, because people get very emotional about that kind of stuff. So like you said, Twin, you're not there for that. You're not going to get anything out of it, honestly. So be intentional with your time there. And political, religion, talking about relationships and your exes and your ex-husband and your kids, daddy, and whatever. Just keep those conversations off.
Drama at home, okay? Don't bring strangers into your drama. It's not cool, okay? And also, this has happened to me as well at different networking events. Like, there's people out there that they want everybody to know that they're a Democrat or that they're a Republican or whatever. And, they make sure that they make like little comments. I don't laugh. I don't say anything. I'm just like, okay, change the conversation on to the next thing. And I still feel like this person is honestly just there because they have like a hidden agenda. Then I just move on to the next person. Like, okay, I just don't connect with this one, on to the next, right? I'm not going to dwell and sit and, I'm not going to entertain a conversation that I'm not comfortable in. If I don't want to have a conversation about these things, then I'm just going to stand my ground. And if you don't appreciate that, then on to the next.
Right. Just excuse yourself. Be like, oh, by the way, I got to go make this phone call.
Yeah, let me go get a drink.
Go get a drink. There's a bunch of excuses you can have beforehand, before you attend the event, of like exiting out of weird situations.
Oh, excuse me. I have a call I have to pick up. I have so many of them.
Yeah, same here. I'll be ready. I stay ready. And if I want to leave early and not, feel like intimidated by being the first one to go, I just literally be like, I'm going to the ladies' room, and then I just don't come back. So I'm kind of famous for doing that. People are always like, listen, you said you were going to the ladies' room. What happened? I'm like, oh, I got a call. And it's just, you got to maneuver yourself. It's hard to be in an environment like that with people that you don't know. So you just got to do what's best for you at that point, right? So.
Absolutely. And you don't want to be the last one to leave either. That kind of looks desperate. You
Yeah.
don't want to be the first one there, and you don't want to be the last to leave it. You have to have like some in between, coming in like 30 minutes. Sometimes networking events, they say it can be for 2 hours. It doesn't mean that you have to be there for the exact 2 hours. Like, you work your room, you get to meet the people that you want to meet, and then you go home, right? You connect with people the next day, like, hey, it was great meeting you, etc. Right? But you don't want to stay in a networking event for that time.
It's not the club. It's not the club. You don't want to be there till the lights get turned on.
Exactly. Now, the next one is also important and one that I'm actually very horrible in. And I'm going to be completely honest, is something that to this day, I'm still working on. And that is remembering people's names. Oh, Lord.
That's
I
bad. Same here.
I have so many stories with this one. I mean, and I feel bad, but sometimes I have to ask people like, "Hey, what's your name again?" And one of the things that I've noticed that has helped me is that I usually give people nicknames, and that works for me. Now, of course, I want to make sure that I get to know the person before I give them a nickname. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going, G?" or whatever, right? But what I'll do is that I'll kind of give them a nickname in my head, and that's how I remember that person.
Okay.
It works for me. I don't know why, but it does.
Yeah.
But remembering names is so important because it makes it more intimate. It makes it more personal for someone.
I have the same problem, twin. I forget. I can meet you right now and talk to you for 10 minutes and I walk away and say, oh my God, what was her name? What was his name? So I had to stop doing that because it was getting really bad. And I think it's because, you're in an environment where there's a lot going on. So
Yes.
the conversation will stick, but something as simple as a name just won't stick. So I had to literally like before walking away, pull my phone out and write the name down in my notes or just think of someone that I know. So like if I meet, let's say Elisa, I have Elisa that was a good friend of mine in middle school. So I always think I have to pair that name up with someone that I know to be like, oh, that's their name, the same person that. So that's kind of one of the tricks that I use to remember names. But I still am bad with that. I try my best to be better, but you definitely have to make an effort. Yeah. So
Yes. And also, let's say you guys are exchanging business cards. One of the tips that I also do is that when they give me their business cards and they're telling me, the likelihood of me remembering who that person is slim unless I write down kind of like the conversation that we had, like or I write down like a description about them, like this person had curly hair, this person had a really nice bag, whatever. I will break down a description that would help me remember that person. So when I am talking to them the next day, it's like, okay, I don't get you confused with someone
yeah.
else.
I've done that too. I've been like blonde lady or like guy with the blue or lady with the green dress or something like that. Yeah, you have to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not because listen, guys, this doesn't come natural to us, right? Again, it's one of those things you don't learn in school. No one's teaching us how to network. No one's teaching us really how to go out there. Even in the professional world, like in certain jobs, you don't get to meet other people and network. You literally just go to work, come home. So it doesn't come natural to a lot of people. So you gotta find the time to like A, do it, and then B, like enhance your networking skills somehow.
Yes. And I know it makes people feel uncomfortable because even like public people are, I don't know if we know this one, but people are more afraid of speaking in public than they are of death. I mean, this is actually a survey out there. So it's kind of like, I know it's intimidating for some people, but it's actually one of those things that is you're so grateful when you do it
Yeah.
because you get to meet so many people. And then you also you get to meet people that you want to in whose circle you want to be in, like people that are doing great things in this world, people that can open up doors for you, that can open up opportunities, that can, put you in rooms that you never even imagined being in just by being in the right place at the right time and getting to meet the right people.
Yeah.
So yes, it's intimidating, but don't think about, oh, what I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna do. Work the room the best way you know how, and that's of you being authentic. That's you, being genuine with people. Like I said, one of the things that would help you kind of like ease your way into a conversation is giving someone a compliment, bringing their guard down, because networking events can be intense. It feels like a really fast, like everyone is kind of like, applying for a job or, getting an interview. That's kind of what it feels like. Exactly. So you want to kind of like have fun with it. Like, remember, people, this is not here to like interrogate, or like I said, just be obnoxious. It's just here for you to genuinely get to know people.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your end goal in mind as always. It's like, all right, I'm there because I want to meet 3 people that I can learn from or that I need in my network or that I can bring value to as well. So it's not always one-sided. There might be someone there that you might not necessarily need something from, but you still might want to meet them because they're doing great things and you can be of value to them. So also keep that in mind.
Absolutely. That was a really great one.
Yeah.
Another
Name
one.
dropping.
Oh, yes. This is a really good one. Oh, wow. Wow. And this one, the reason why I say this one is a good one is because sometimes, like me being in the financial industry, there's so many different companies out there.
Mhm.
And I feel like you have to be professional, okay? Because trust me, like the ego in you wants to be a little bit competitive and say, no, our company is better than this one. But because you're in a professional setting and you know that name dropping is tacky in the first place, like, don't do it.
And in case you don't know that it's tacky, it's very tacky.
Very tacky. Like, listen, your company may be the best, okay, but you shaming another company automatically it kind of like discredits you, because it's like, well, okay, you might be number one, but your personality right now is coming over your professionalism, and that's not somebody that I would want to work with, right? So as much as you want to, say, oh no, that company is not great, or this person, or things like that, bite your tongue. It's not the setting. You don't want that. You don't want to put that energy out there anyways, because you wouldn't like for it to be done to you anyways, right? So don't do it. Bite your tongue. I always tell myself, bite my tongue, Lisa, don't say it. I think about it, but I won't say it.
Right. But that's very important because, as your mind is going really fast when you're meeting someone new and you're trying to share information or get information from them, it can be really easy for you to be like, oh, I know so-and-so. And I know so-and-so, because you want to, like you said, you want to make sure this person knows that you are of value and that you have certain connections, but it could come off as bragging. So, maybe save that for the second conversation. Like the first conversation shouldn't be about who you know, what who's on your contact list.
Right. Better so-and-so, like, yeah.
Right. And definitely don't play the whole like bigging someone up higher than other people, like, oh, you have that person, but I have someone that's better than that person. Like, don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gives a lot of weird vibes when it comes to your personality traits. So, and I think in business, people that are in business for a while, they understand that when you meet someone and all they do is talk about who they know and what that person can do, it seems like you're bragging and you're not mentally there to do things in a professional manner. So
Absolutely.
it can take some points away from you. So don't do that.
It does. It takes points away from you, and that's going to be what you're going to be remembered for. Yeah. Remember that, like people are more likely to remember the bad things you say as opposed to the good things that you say, So if you don't want to be remembered as that person that's like name dropping, that's like bashing companies, that's bashing people, keep your mouth shut. You can think about it and be honestly thinking, like, we all have moments where we're like, no, right? Yeah. But it's tacky to actually put it out there, to speak it, right? And to it just also comes off as emotional versus logical, which in this environment we don't want our emotions to drive us. We want us to be professional about things, right? We don't want to drop emotional baggage on people, and that's what name dropping is. It's egoistic, and it's also just you letting kind of like the childishness in you kind of like win and overpower the situation, which is not cool.
Yes, not at all. And then, and the opposite of name dropping is bashing someone. So don't do that either. Like I've been to events where I'm there with other people and the other people are bashing, let's say, the event itself or the organizer for not, having certain things in order. And I'm like, we're here. It's like being in someone's house and talking about the owner of that house. Like, wait till you leave that place to share your concerns about, the event because you don't know who's listening. You don't know who's close to you. And then people can perceive you as being, a critic. So they're like, what? I don't want that person in my next event. They're just going to be here to criticize. So just one more thing that I wanted to kind of add to that.
And that's actually really important that you mentioned that, Twin, because usually the people that have the most to say about an event are people that never even hosted an event. Like if you've hosted an event, even if the event isn't up to your standards, that there's a lot of things that go into an event. it's a
Right.
team, it's a community at times, so you have to kind of like be appreciative. And if you feel like there's things that you probably would have done differently, then why don't you go up to the host, send them an email and say, hey, I've enjoyed my time here, but I also kind of want to give you some feedback, future references, maybe you can take away these things, or apply these things into your next event, kind of like help them, don't bash
Yes.
them.
Right. It's constructive criticism. And
Constructive.
I've planned many events, and always would like to hear what people thought about the event, because that makes me plan things better for the next time, or makes me improve my event planning skills, so it's not a bad thing, but you got to do it tastefully. You can't be like, just bashing it, and it's not professional, right? It's not going to make someone want to work with you or even invite you to the next thing. So just one more thing to put on your don't list.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, like, like you said, so when you've hosted events, I've hosted events too. And I would appreciate anybody that says, hey, Lisa, I kind of like move this around because, X, Y, and Z, or, maybe for future references, I would give you some tips to do this differently.
Right.
I'm so open to learning from everybody that I'm not the type of person that I'm going to be upset because you're telling me how to run. No, I don't. Like, if we can come together and collaborate and provide even better service for other people out there, a better event, hell yeah, I'm open to that.
Of course, absolutely,
As
definitely.
long as you're doing genuinely, right? And not kind of like catty or being, kind of hidden agendas behind it, then we're good.
Yes, exactly. Well, as we mentioned, all of these tips take a high emotional IQ. So in business is one of the things I preach about all the time. It's not just about knowing your business and knowing a product and selling. It's having that emotional IQ to know when to say things, when not to say things, how to respond to things, right? Like that, those qualities, if you don't have them, can make or break your business eventually. So it's so important to have that emotional IQ. Is like, it goes hand in hand with your skills, right?
I agree. And I feel like it takes, like you said, it takes an emotional IQ. It also takes a lot of discipline, Of course, your first networking event is going to be a little awkward for you because it's like, first of all, you want to talk to so many people. You may spend way too much time talking to one person because you just feel comfortable with that person. But as you go and attend more events, you will start to understand, these are the things that I should do. This is what I like doing. This is what I don't like doing. I don't get a good response when I say X, Y, and Z, right? So, and that's gonna be your experience. Okay. We're telling you our experiences, we're telling you things that have worked for us or things that have not worked for us, for you guys to kind of give you a stepping stone. So when you do go out to events, what to look for and how to work the room.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. We're just sharing our experiences with you guys, and hopefully, you can take some pointers, and for the next one, the new year is gonna bring in, I know we're still in this weird time, but I think more people are itching to get out of the house and get out there and meet people they can work with and, learn from. So this is why we felt it was important to have this conversation for sure. So that we can all start on a nice, fresh, networking skill set.
Yes.
The last one.
Wow, this one is as equally important as all the other ones that we mentioned, which is network, don't flirt. Wow. I mean, I don't go into networking events flirting. I think that's just like a big no-no. First of all, I'm not there for that. Okay. I'm there to get to know people. If people are going to a networking event to flirt and to kind of like find their next wife or husband, that's not the event for it. Okay. That is not. Can it happen naturally and you get to meet somebody that you really like, but don't go there already with those intentions in mind. And I know as females, Twin, I know you're going to share some stories. We fall victim to this sometimes, right? Where
Terrible.
You're talking to someone, you're there to get to know them, but somehow in their mind, they're interpreted that you're into them. And then if the conversation just gets awkward and you just set your boundaries, like, I'm sorry, this is making me uncomfortable. I didn't come here, to flirt or, to get to anything other than business. This is just not it.
Right, not it. Listen, I've been through some situations where it's been so awkward and uncomfortable, because again, you show up to these places and you're there with the goal of, a business goal, an intention of meeting someone for business. And other people can take that the wrong way, especially when there's liquor involved and people start drinking and they get loose and they get too happy, and they cross the line. And it's like, once that line is crossed with certain individuals, it's very hard to even consider a business partnership or a business conversation, because now you're like, you're holding up guard the whole time, right? Or you're walking away. You're like, you know what, I would never do business with that person.
Mhm.
So, for us females is even harder, because already a lot of these industries are male dominated. So we know that when we walk into these events, we are the minority, right? The women, the females walk into these rooms and we already have to like have our guard up when it comes to that. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I'm sure men don't walk into networking events thinking that, they're going to get
Hit on.
hit on by all these women, right? So you have to keep that level of awareness and, walk in there, which is why dress code is so important. Our very first point, you don't want to give off the feeling that you're there to also find your next boyfriend or husband, right? So dress coding is so important, even more important for females. But the flirting part, people can take that the wrong way. So make sure that you limit your what do you call it, your comments. You keep things very like black and white. There's no hidden lines in between that someone might be thinking that you are there, that you're trying to hit on them. So it's just it's a balance thing. You gotta keep it balanced, but it can be uncomfortable. So you definitely don't want to put yourself in that situation.
Absolutely. And I feel like if you're one of those people that go to event and have hidden agendas, be considerate, because you're making other people feel uncomfortable, and you're also kind of like ruining any, business relationship to actually flourish, because of the fact that you're only really there for, dating, or to, like you said, to get the next shiny object, in other words, right? So, and again, whenever I'm in that position and I feel like someone is like, trying to get more of me, like, hey, let's go out to dinner, we should catch a drink sometime, like things are just like, for what, we can just talk about business over a car, whatever. It already lets me know, like, this is not a person that I'm probably going to talk to again. Like, you just ruined it.
Exactly. They just messed it up, and I always try to keep like the whole, we should meet for lunch. I normally don't do that with people unless I build a rapport with them or relationship with. So I'm always like, well, I'm open for a phone call, or we can do a Zoom, we can do a
Right.
FaceTime, so always keep that as your second option before you decide to sit in front of someone, because it's very different and intimidating to like sit in front of someone over lunch, over dinner. Plus, it takes time out of your schedule, to do all of that. And this person literally might just be there to be like, oh, so are you single? Can I take you out? And you're like,
Exactly. Like,
hold on.
if we can have this conversation over Zoom or over a phone call, we can do that. Then what's the point of us going out to drinks or even dinner? First of all, dinner is intimate. I only go out to dinner with my close friends, my boyfriend, my family. Other than that, what do we need to go out for dinner for?
Absolutely correct. Well, Twin, this was a great conversation. I think it needed to be had.
Yes,
Um,
I personally agree.
yes, yes. So to
And
everyone, go ahead.
yeah, okay. I was just gonna say that again, for those of you that are out there watching this, if you have not already done so, make sure you subscribe, because we're gonna have a lot of great episodes coming to you all in 2022. So you don't want to miss it. A lot of great collaborations. And just so you know that this episode overall is for you guys to kind of see that the world of networking may not only be in a physical space, it also happens online, right? So take some of these tips that you've learned today and use that to approach people through social media as well, because that's where majority of people are, right? So again, we just want to give you these tips so you can be better at networking and whatever that looks like for you, but at the same time for you guys to also be able to share these tips with others that you feel like may help someone else in their own objectives.
Well said. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Twin. And to everyone out there, have a happy new year. This is the last episode. So have a happy
Yes.
2022.
Happy 2022, guys.
Till next time.
Till next time. Bye.
Ciao. Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you found great value in the content shared. Make sure to tune in again every Wednesday and to also share our podcast link with anyone who can benefit from the information. Till next time, adios.